Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Kari and today I am doing my May wrap-up. I read 12 books in May and I am partway through another one. So this was, it's the first booktube month, let's put it that way, that I have done a themed TBR as opposed to a specific TBR. This month was Abby from Abby Appellinor, so books that I associate with her for whatever reason in my brain. She's given me, she's recommended me, I've bought because of her, etc. There was quite the stack of them. And like I said, I managed to read, I guess technically 11, because the first one had nothing to do with her, it was just a library book that needed to, go back. I guess 10, because that one too. But let's start with that, shall we? So the first one was Sea State, a Memoir by Tabitha Lacks. And this one, the flap said that it was her talking to all of these men on the rigs and the drills and what have you, platforms in the North Sea drilling oil. It's not that. It's her trying to find herself and sleeping with one particular dude and they grow apart and nothing happens. I give it 2 stars because it's not what it was. It was not what I was expecting. And it just wasn't memorable or good at all. So, it wasn't a 1 star, but it wasn't good either. So we have The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. I could relate this to Abby because she's starting Sanderson soon. But it was mostly just for me to continue the series. I gave this a 3. I have very little memory as to what happened in this book. I remember the ending. I wouldn't say it fulfills all the promise of the first 2 books. His books are very long, and while I like long books, this was not it for me. Alright, and the rest of them have some relation to Abby. So next we have The Secret Barrister, anonymously written, and this is about the legal system in the UK. I have been recommended this many times by many different Brits, including Abby. So I finally read it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 stars because there were bits of it that just didn't quite feel like they connected as far as organization went. However, it was fascinating to read this and learn how vastly different the UK and the US legal systems are. Magistrates' courts there, not what they are here. You apparently don't need a legal degree for those. And don't get me wrong, this was published in 2018, so none of this has changed in the last 4 years, I'm guessing. But it was really fascinating, and like I said, I give it a 4 stars, just some organizational tweaks that I probably would have made, but I loved learning about it, and it was a little bit vindicating to go, oh, okay, at least we don't have that fuck up in the States. Don't get me wrong, we have a whole slew of our own that more than equate to theirs, but we don't have those specific ones. Then I read There Is No You Without Us by Suki Kim. This Abby has read and I believe enjoyed. It's about a young Korean American woman who goes and teaches at one of North Korea's elite universities. I think she's there for 6 months and then comes back, and she's there when Kim Jong-il dies. This was really interesting as well. I am very intrigued to read more from people who have been to North Korea, whether that's they grew up there and defected, or like her, somehow managed to worm their way into the country for various reasons, because it's so vastly different from ours, and particularly compared to the next book. I really enjoyed reading this because this is the elite North Koreans, right? This is the fancy rich people, because let's be realistic, there are rich people in North Korea. They just pretend that there aren't. But really enjoyed it. I think it was 4 stars for me, because again, there were bits of it that were just kind of meh, but it was very interesting. So, for my book club, read In Order to Live by Yeonmi Park. This I loved, I gave it 5 stars. She grew up in North Korea, got out with her sister and her mom, and it was fascinating. It's very matter-of-factly written. She doesn't go into detail about things. There are trigger warnings for sexual assault on a lot of levels. various deaths, and I don't remember all of them, but those are the ones that come to mind. At any rate, look up the trigger warnings, because at the very least there's sexual assault and kidnapping and human trafficking, all of that. But I found it fascinating. I loved the way she wrote it. Again, very matter of fact. It didn't go into detail, which I appreciated, because in the States we tend to glorify everything and make it, I don't know, what appeals. I don't know why anything about sexual assault appeals, but we're not going to go down that rabbit hole today. Anyway, great book, very short, which is nice, and gives you a glimpse into the not elite North Koreans. Then I read one of Abby's favorite series, and that is Skullduggery Pleasant Playing with Fire, which is book 2. There are, I believe, 14 of them. 11-year-old girl meets a skeleton detective in the first book, and we go from there. I think these are quite funny. It's a very, I guess, Irish sense of humor, since the author is Irish, but very dry British Isles humor, and it's, I think, hilarious. I'm very much looking forward to continuing this series. I believe I gave that 4 stars. I also gave this one 4 stars, and this is the Riddle Book 2 of the Palinor series, which is where her channel name comes from. Again, one of her favorites. I enjoyed this, I think, more than the first one. I think the first one, having moved on in the series, felt very slow, whereas this one feels like there's a little bit more happening. I didn't really feel attached to some of the characters when stuff happened to them, but I did enjoy, overall, the ebb and flow of action and character development and all that kind of stuff. So, not least because I have the next 2 books in the series, I will be continuing. Then I read Vesuvius by Alwyn Scarth, which is a non-fiction about all the eruptions and essentially just the history of Vesuvius. Abby studied Vesuvius and the flying lava bits. They have a technical name, but I don't know it because I am a lawyer, not a scientist. She knows it though. Go ask her. Anyway, she studied Vesuvius, and so I bought this 2 years ago now. I guess it would have been close to 3, because I bought it in the Rochester Public Library before everything shut down in March of 2020 for COVID. But, at any rate, yeah. I really enjoyed this as well. I think they gave this 3.5 or 4 stars. It's good and it's well written. It's not life-changing, it's not, you know, whatever. It is denser than I expected, so if you are not looking for a dense nonfiction read, no matter how short this is, I maybe wouldn't go through it. I think if you have a background in volcanology or Vesuvius itself, you're going to understand and get more out of it. However, as a broad overview of all of the times this volcano has erupted, it was really excellent. Then I read Exit Strategy by Martha Wells, which is a series that Abby turned me onto. This is book number 4. This is a robot called Murderbot, and all they want to do is watch soap operas as they travel around the galaxy, but they keep getting pulled into humans' stupid shit. And they're novellas, they're super fun and quick, and I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 stars. Again, 4 tends to be one of my higher ratings if it's not going to be life-changing, or make me think about it all the time if I don't like, oh yeah, that. But I highly recommend this series. It's great, it's super cute, and it's hilarious. Second to last, we have The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. This is a nonfiction about Henrietta Lacks, who was a black woman in the 50s who died of cervical cancer. Her cells were taken without her knowledge or consent, and they have helped science in a myriad of ways since then. Rebecca Skloot is a white woman, but I think she did a really good job of acknowledging that and kind of essentially silencing her voice to amplify what little voice she could find of Henrietta, and the voices of Henrietta's family. Her kids, her husband was still alive when Miss Skloot went to go interview them. It is quite the read. It is a little horrifying to realize that privacy and consent weren't things really, in the 50s and even up to the 70s, but it's also reassuring to know how far we've come since then. So I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 5 stars. I will think about it many years from now. I think I would also put this in the same category as Radium Girls by Kate Moore. They're both sort of about the medical and legal aspects of stories of women who were harmed by men in power, be they doctors or employers who told them to lick the radium that they were painting on watches. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. It's a super easy read, at least in terms of nonfiction. There are some harder bits in here. Obviously, cancer is a thing. Again, look up trigger warnings if you are not sure, but highly recommend. And then last but not least, this wasn't one that Abby told me about, but I know that we both like retellings, so I made it work because I really wanted to read this book. It came out in May. So that is Kaiki. Kaiki? I looked up the pronunciation. I'm still working on it. By, oh crap, I think there's a V in that. Yeah. Vaishnavi Patel. Why you would put a sticker over the author's name, I don't know, but here we are. This is a retelling of the Ramayana from Kaiki's perspective. She is the mother of Ramayana. I have never read the Ramayana. I know the name, I've heard it referenced. I've never sat down and read it, and after reading this, I feel like I need to. But I loved this, so it's now on Abby's DVR, obviously. This was fantastic. I love the way she takes Kaiki's story and just broadens it, because we don't know much about her, apparently. Again, I haven't read the Ramayana, don't know really anything about it. But this book was fantastic. It is a little bit bigger, it's about 500 pages, and it goes through her life from childhood to adulthood, and just everything that she did to help others, and sort of how she got worked into the myth itself. So I loved this so much. I think I gave it 4.5. I might have given it 5. It was a really good book. No, I don't remember my ratings forever. I just know if I liked it or not. But excellent, excellent book. I am currently in the, well, I'm like 40 pages into it, so I won't finish it today. I might finish it by the end of May. Unclear. But regardless, How the Scots Invented the Modern World by Arthur Herman. I'm reading this one and relating it to Abby because she's half Scottish, if you didn't know. And this is another one that's been on my shelves for years. And so theming it around Abby, who is half Scottish, made perfect sense, right? I am liking it so far. Like I said, I'm exactly 38 pages into this, and it is 430. So I will finish it at some point in the next week. Whether or not that's the end of May, I don't know. Those are all the books I read in May. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on any of them, or if you have read any of them. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!